All right, guys, so I am here with some extremely talented people. Oh my goodness, I'm a little bit of a fangirl right now because what you do is what I was planning to make my career path.
That's awesome. That's
so I'm a little fangirly. I'm really excited. So we obviously have a lot of cool things coming this year, like Trick or Treat. Oh my goodness. As you can see, I'm a little bit of a fan. But I am so excited, and I can tell that the fans are so excited. You guys also seem really excited for this because you've been wanting to do this for a long time. And obviously it's based off the movie Trick or Treat. And if you haven't seen it, go watch it because it's amazing. But something that's really important in that movie is kind of following the rules of Halloween.
Yes.
Now, in the maze version of it, how do you explain that to someone who's maybe never seen the movie before?
Yeah, a couple of different ways. I mentioned that, like, in the Hollywood version, we're kind of setting up each part of the anthology before you go through it, almost like a title card for it, in a cool way that Chris and I came up with. But then we're also using some projection elements in the maze to help establish the rules. Like when you see the poor kid puking, there's also a video side that helps to establish what those rules are. So we're hitting those along the way.
And how would you incorporate that in the Orlando maze? Because even though you guys kind of hit the same points, it is a different experience.
Well, we did a Scarezone based on the film last year, and it literally was about the rules. The Scarezone was designed that way. We had a lot of scenic that actually had those rules spelled out. So for our maze this year, we're kind of just paying those off, knowing that we've kind of set it up last year, and now you're going to live it. You're going to see, again, you're going to see Easter eggs of those rules being broken throughout the maze, but we're not being as vivid with those rules within the maze itself.
Oh, that's a very interesting take on it. So I watched the panel and I saw that you guys had hinted about maybe a Trick or Treat scare zone. What's going on with that?
Well, there's a lot of material in Trick or Treat, so we decided that, there were things that Chris and I couldn't put in the maze. So we thought, well, why not have it be a scare zone as well?
And some of those elements are like the school bus, but pre-school bus before it drops down in the quarry.
Wow.
So everything's all clean and everything, so you would see that as well.
And we also knew that, fans of Trick or Treat, they're obsessed with this property, as you can see.
Very much so.
So, you don't get to have a photo op moment when you're going through the maze because they're not designed for that. So we actually specifically designed the scare zone so that you can get a picture with Sam too, which is something we don't normally do in Horror Nights.
Yeah, because it does have such a cult following that people who really love this movie want to be immersed in it for longer than just a maze where you're scared and running through it. But I like that you provided that for the guests to where they have the opportunity to really take the time and feel like they're in the world.
Yeah.
So Stranger Things is coming. Oh my goodness. Everyone and their mothers and grandmothers and fathers and uncles are obsessed with this show. And one of the biggest parts of it was the representation of the 80s clothing and music, and I was wondering if you guys are going to incorporate that into the mazes.
I already lived the 80s. I mean, I was in high school in the 80s. I was in college in the 80s. But yeah, you take the nod from the show, and it affects what you're doing in the scenic design and in the costumes, because that's the world they're in. But because that's the world of the show, it naturally works its way into the maze.
Yeah, and yes, we are, emulating those costumes and T-shirts that the kids wear and everything, and we're able to find all that online actually, and so absolutely, and you'd be surprised.
And the music that was composed for the show is such a great homage to 80s synth pop, and that's a big part of it as well.
In Orlando, everything what my counterpart said, the one thing about the 80s that we're adopting in Orlando is knowing Stranger Things is really kind of the anchor brand for the event this year. We're actually sprinkling the 80s throughout a lot of the content that we're producing, not only from the types of IPs that we're choosing, but also in some of the original mazes that we're developing as well. There's just a spice of the 80s kind of filtered and sprinkled throughout a lot of the content of this year's event in Orlando.
That's really cool. Now, a lot of the fans are probably wondering this. I was wondering it the minute I found out about the Stranger Things maze. Is Barb making a cameo?
Yes.
Yay!
I wouldn't call it a living cameo, but
but
Barb
she'll
will be in the maze.
Yeah.
What about in the Orlando maze?
Likewise. Yeah. Yes.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you guys at Horror Nights. Bye.